frozen time, but I don't know how I'm here. Sunlight has turned to grey, and I feel like I'm losing love again. I don't know how I'm here. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking now. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking now. 'Cause it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna breathe. And it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna need.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Stock Car Cup, the Vertex Stock Car Cup, I should say, here on iRacing. And once again, we are here at Zolder, which saw the greatest race of this championship's very short history last season. Some incredible strategies are going to come into play here. Plenty of focus from these drivers is going to be required. Now, I am here in the box with the wonderful... I've got a different adjective for him every week. Chris Dawes joining me again. How are we doing, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm okay. I'm worried that one of these days it's going to be beautiful as well, isn't it, I think?
Well, I was thinking of saying that, actually, before I came on air. I was planning which one I was going to go for, and it was either wonderful or that, to be honest. So, you got me on that one, mate.
That's the joys of it being virtual, is that you can pretend I am.
Oh, mate, don't you worry. If I look in a mirror, mate, it's a good thing these monitors aren't reflective, let's put it that way. Well, Zolder in NASCAR machinery. Talk to me.
Wow. I mean, obviously, I've joined you guys season 2, but I did catch season 1 here because the conversations were, I think they were probably happening, or I may have caught it for me to join you guys. Wow. I mean, it really was epic, wasn't it? I mean, you mentioned about the fact that it was probably the best race of all so far. And I got to agree, just from the experience I had there, it was just incredible. I had a bit of everything, even the boss being a bad boy.
Yeah, indeed. It certainly was. And he certainly had a good scrap with Ben Kriener throughout the whole race, and then an incident at the end got him a penalty, which meant that Brian Crowles managed to get the race win. We're looking at Brian on screen now, and it was his home win. So I'm sure he's going to be aiming for the same tonight. Just to run you through the championship standings, everybody, I unfortunately don't have the table in front of me on screen at the moment, but I know that Aaron Smith currently leads the championship. That is this legend here. The cars are on their own on track, by the way,
That's
just
not
in their
what
individual.
I've got Alex leading the table.
Alright, that's I'm excluding the pro drivers.
Oh, are you? I see.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and inflate Alex's ego too much, but yes, Alex does lead the points on 141. Him and Ben Kriener are considered as the 2 pro drivers. Aaron Smith leads the rest of the guys with Jason Glenn just behind him. And I tell you what, I mean, Jason didn't have the most straightforward season 1. He had a bit of a tough time with it, but he's doing really well so far. There's been a massive improvement, hasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, interesting that we're not on an oval, because that's where we saw the marked improvement, didn't we? Obviously, we had the opening round at Kansas Speedway, where he came home in, was it 7th place? And, you know, he was there or thereabouts, but he wasn't setting it alight. Come Indianapolis, round 2, and wow, that was just absolutely epic performance. And, you know, it wasn't out of the question he could get a good run at the end there to finish even higher. But it didn't go quite according to plan on the Charlotte Roval, did it? So I don't know what that's going to do for his confidence coming to this circuit, which is probably more like Charlotte Roval than it is Indianapolis Speedway.
Yeah, that's it. It's interesting to see how each of these drivers sort of develop and adapt to each individual round that we get, because of the fact that there are so many different circuits on this calendar that all require different little bits of skill. Like, even though some of them are road courses, some of them are ovals, drivers have favourites and they have ones that they're not so good at, and it's great.
Well, and let's not kid ourselves. NASCARs aren't really, you know, designed for this. They do it. I know they do it, but this is not what they're designed with in mind, and it's just a whole new skill for them, isn't it, in the real world and on the sim world?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's it. That's the beauty of this championship as well, is that we see sort of unorthodox combinations between some cars and tracks, and it's what makes it more exciting for us. As Aaron Smith championship leader effectively goes top of the pile there. Connor Mills has just gone into second place, and I'm going to have to reload the overlay for everybody because apparently it's not stacking them. There you go, everyone. I'm going to give you the gaps on the left-hand side as well, so you can just see the difference in the times, and it's nearly half a second from Aaron Smith to Brian Crowles. That's some real pace there.
I mean, Aaron Smith has been phenomenal, frankly, hasn't he? He's had such bad luck in reality, but, you know, he still finds himself leading the championship, second in the championship, whichever way you're going to look at it, because, you know, I'm worried about it not including the boss in this conversation. But, you know, you know, he's been absolutely incredible, certainly on the ovals, but obviously he did manage to come in second at Charlotte Roval, so he's had a 5th, 8th and a 2nd so far. And you know, it's going to be good to see what he's doing. And the reason why I was really mentioning that is that when we've had the interviews with him, he even sounds surprised, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, that's been one of the best
you know
bits.
What I mean?
Yeah, it certainly does sort of add another little element to it that not even they expect to be doing as well as they are sometimes, and that's part of the beauty of it, I imagine. It's as a driver, you have to have confidence in your ability and what you're doing. But the fact that some of these guys, they even they don't believe it when they do well, and yeah, it's great to see, and that's part of the sort of friendly atmosphere this championship gives off as well. I mean, in just the Discord server, to see all the guys chatting away and having a lot of banter with each other, and I mean, we thrive off it, don't we?
Oh, we do. I mean, that's why we go and join in the beginning, don't we? We listen to the driver's briefing a little bit so that we just are aware of anything that the drivers are being told to be careful of and any rules that we might not know. But mainly, let's not kid ourselves, is to hear the banter before we get going. It's brilliant.
Definitely. And there is actually... Well, I've just noticed that there's a gap in the timing tower for some reason. That's beautiful.
Which must be a particular driver, because that was a gap at 7th and it's kind of moved down. So it must be a particular driver that sat with a blank there.
Yeah, Nicholas Yarrington for some reason. Oh, now it's Nicholas Yarrington for some reason. He's not showing up on there. Not quite sure what he's done to the overlay, but it doesn't seem to like him at the moment. So this is Guillaume Hesno, another driver that's been monstering the curbs as well. Absolutely flying this season. Let's just have a quick look at how narrow this is down here. You can see these cars don't hang about either around here. That's quite the scary sight, because you think, oh, NASCAR machinery, a lot of power, not really the best at handling. But these guys do not hang about when they're trying to launch it around here. Sun in your eyes as well through the right-hander, and then over the crest, the power's going to just spin up the rears. You can hear the revs just spike all of a sudden. And this is where we saw some of the guys having most of the issues last time we were here, into that hairpin. It's not an easy corner to get right, especially when you're sort of turning on the way in and onto the brakes.
And with the name Boulderberg, it's going to be difficult, isn't it? You've got to have your boulders firmly in your hands for that one. And and then it's into the Jochenrindt sort of chicane, but it's a rather quick one, isn't it? I think it's kind of morbid as well. Before we got into that, we had the chicane, the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. A bit wrong to call it after a person who had the fatal incident there, really, isn't it? But never mind.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, actually, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not what I would do. I mean, he deserves the memory and the mention, but not name the corner, for goodness sake. But it's a challenging chicane, that, isn't it? With then going straight into the constant right-hand turn of Taramen.
Yeah, I think maybe people didn't like the Villeneuves, because when he crashed at Montreal, they started calling it the Wall of Champions, didn't they? So I suppose that maybe whenever they had a misfortune, they thought, oh, right, well, we'll remind them of that forever. But Guillaume Hesno then is the only car remaining on track now. We have a 16-car grid this evening, so it may not be as sort of packed as it was last time at Zolder. Which shows that it's a unique challenge for them, doesn't it? Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's probably scared a lot of the drivers off, to be honest. It would scare me off as well.
Have we got... I was going to say Patrick Hathaway. He was down to enter round 3, which officially this is round 4, but I think as far as it was concerned, because the last 2 were a double header, I thought it was here that he was going to be with us, but I don't see a Hathaway on the list.
No, we've got I think he was actually working as the spotter for James Harvey, I heard earlier, but whether he is or not, whether he decides to race, we'll have to see, but he's not in at the moment. It's Nick Yarrington in 12th that's setting the timing screen off at the moment, but yeah, 12th place for some reason, it's not registered. Sorry about that. Connor Mills 5th at the moment. This is Guillaume just putting some more laps in. He's probably going to tick the session over. We will be refreshing the paints just before the start as well, so when they get the warm-up lap, you will all see. Listen to these things go down there. Just, I mean, since
You're
the
so mean to me.
yeah, reminder everyone that Chris can't hear the cars, unfortunately, because he's watching a direct feed from my sim. But the X Audio 2 that they brought in just a week and so ago, it's really amplified the sort of distortion on these cars, and it really does sort of show you the animalistic nature of how loud they can be. It's pretty crazy. I mean,
have you been to Brands Hatch for American Speedfest?
You know what? I haven't been there for it, but
You have to. The noise in the amphitheatre of the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. I've been privileged enough to be actually even leading the commentary team for the last, I can't remember now, 2 or 3 years, but I've done it for about 4 or 5. It is just out of this world. It literally, you can feel it as well as hear it all around you. It is just a sight to behold, and of course that should have been this weekend just gone, sadly.
Yeah, it's.
You can tell I'm still hurting about that, can't you?
Yeah. Well, there's been a couple of. I mean, I'm sure you've shared the same thing as well, where you see the sort of calendar notifications come up saying, "Oh, it's so and so at this circuit this weekend." It's like, "Oh no, it's not," and yeah, it's pretty painful from our perspective as well not to be travelling there, much as it would be for the drivers. And obviously, we've heard from a lot of them that being able to do the sim racing in this way, in such a competitive fashion in a lot of different series, has been really, really good for them. And to be honest,
and yet,
it's
what I'm
nice to
loving
get
the
that.
noise is that it's going to carry on for a lot of them by all accounts, even once the racing gets going again, which just goes to show how popular it has been.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're going to have some fantastic series sprout from it even after all of this. Here is your grid then. Aaron Smith takes pole position ahead of Alex Sedgwick. Brian Crowles and Jason Glenn are on row 2 ahead of Connor Mills, and Billy Fletcher lines up 6th. We then have Guillaume Hesno alongside Mikey Doble in the 22. James Harvey for Student Motorsport, who have also been very supportive again in the chat. Hello, guys. They are 9th on the grid. Ben Kriener lines up 10th. Quite a surprise from Ben. Marcel Freinzehner is 11th with Nicholas Yarrington in 12th. And then behind him we have Justin Nair, Jonathan Hill, George Tolsma, and Jeff Hooper. And the overlay is not being my friend this evening, so we have to give it another reload. And there we go. We have the whole field now, Chris. We can actually see all of them, which is nice. We'll get rid of the gaps so it doesn't take up too much of your screen. But we are in for an absolute treat here, everybody. Let me tell you, because last time we were here, it was the greatest race of the season by a long shot, and you know how good every single race was last season. So we are in for a real treat on this very narrow, windy circuit. Plenty of laps ahead of us, and I can't wait for these guys to just light up the rears and get on with it. It's going to be so much fun, isn't it?
It really is, and I mean it's going to be an incredible challenge for the start of this race, all hurtling down to the first corner on. I don't suppose it's fair to say cold rubber, but it's not going to be at its absolute pristine. Although I suppose it's a long warm-up lap for them, isn't it? Long parade lap, but heading down into what is a very tight left-hander as one. I think I'm going to look through webbed fingers, frankly, as they come down to this left-hander. I mean, thank goodness. You know it's bad when you've got a gravel trap that big on the exit there.
I didn't know you're from Swansea. But yeah, I know what you mean, though. It's quite scary. It does sort of install this bit of confidence in you that, oh, if you run a bit wide, you're not going to go into a wall. But at the same time, you think, yeah, there's a reason that there's that much runoff. It can go very, very wrong from a corner like that. But another interesting fact, as we see the back of some beautiful gazebos, if everybody just bears with me 1 second, though, I have had a fix for this before. So if everyone will just bear with me 1 second, you'll see the thumbnail for just a sec, just while I sort that camera out, because it has plagued me for ages and ages and ages, this camera, and I'm sick of it, and I'm going to get rid of it once and for all.
It's like Blue Peter here's one I did earlier.
It is, honestly. I'm going to just sort it out now, because I've had so many issues with it previously. You can hear me typing away and sorting all the stuff out.
It's not, it's just sound effects, that's all it is.
But here you go, everybody. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. But once we get round to it, you'll see it again, and you'll see exactly what I've done. I'm very proud of myself. So, I've lost it a long time ago, mate. Aaron Smith, then, in that very, very beautiful Revolution satellite racing car, in the Wasp, leads us through the Gilles Villeneuve chicane there. And through his windscreen at the moment, he's obviously got a nice bit of daylight. a lovely Porsche safety car, but he wants to keep it that way, doesn't it?
Yes. And you know you've got monstrous power behind you when the safety car is a Porsche, for goodness sake, because it's got to be something meaty to keep them behind, isn't it?
And from here, you can't actually hear what the iRacing Porsche safety car sometimes does, where it sits in first gear all the way around the lap on the limiter, popping and banging all the way along. It only does it at certain tracks, I've found, but it's quite amusing when you do pull up alongside it and you just hear it absolutely screaming that beautiful flat six song that we get. But it's not about the flat sixes today, it's about the big burly American V8s, and you can hear them all rumbling through now, or Chris can't. Coming into the final chicane then, and Aaron Smith is going to lead them away then with Alex Cedric alongside. These two restart buddies all season so far, and they're going to be absolutely sick of trying to outdo each other. But the lights are on and the lights are out and we're away, and it's a good start from Aaron, to be fair. Alex has stayed with him. The field has sort of spread out a little bit down the inside there. Oh, there's Brian Krause has gone straight on, and Jason Glenn's off. Jason Glenn is off on the outside. He's off in the gravel. It was James Harvey and Ben Carina that went flying side by side with each other. Billy Fletcher's lost ground just in front. Guillaume Hesno and Brian Krause will come together again. Ben Carina's getting 5 places in 2 corners, Chris. How they actually done that? And there's your new camera, everyone.
Yeah, you're proud of that, aren't you?
Oh, I am.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell. I missed it. I was looking down at my notes and listening to you doing that, and I missed that the start of that. And for me, that looks as though it's a great job by Carina just to keep his powder dry. But you kind of almost suggested that he sort of went careering into that corner very hot, and I don't know whether that unsettled the guys around him. I didn't see the start of it, did you?
I think that Carina went down the inside of Harvey, right to the inside on the left-hand side of the circuit. And just in front, a couple of the guys just came together under brakes. Unfortunately, Jason Glenn was the one that lost out. Billy Fletcher has dropped down a lot as well. I'm not sure whether he's managed to get a slowdown for it. We'll have another look through from James Harvey's point of view. We'll go on board with James. I'll tell you what, actually, we'll go back to a TV camera just to have a quick check. I'll keep my eye on the live timing as well. Oh, Jason Glenn's had another issue and gone off. So this is James Harvey then. He's got Ben Carina on his left. Yeah, he goes way over to defend. And oh, just in front, Billy Fletcher goes into the back of Jason Glenn, who then catches Brian Krause.
Yeah, he tapped the nose of Krause, didn't he? And I think that a little bit further on, Krause then got into contact with Hesno as well. So it was what we were predicting. It was always going to be a tough corner. The good news for them is that it's 30 laps, which might not seem a lot, but it is around this circuit, in all fairness, isn't it? So, you know, they've got an awful lot more racing. What's the phrase? You can't win it on the first corner, but you sure as heck can lose it. Definitely
with you on that one, mate. And Ben Carina is the main beneficiary at the moment. If we just show you the gains on the left-hand side, he's just got past Mikey Doble as well. And once again, other than George Tolsma in 15th place, it's actually the top two, Aaron Smith and Alex Cedric. These two, honestly, we're going to have to get them some sort of ceremony sorted out at some point soon before they get married, because they're never...
Yeah.
Oh, they're completely inseparable. Connor Mills is right behind as well. He started 5th on the grid. Reigning champion, he's up to 3rd. So
he's my forecast for this race, if I'm honest, because you know, he was absolutely ecstatic, wasn't he, with his victory round Indianapolis, saying that, you know, that's not his forte. His forte is turning right and left, and you know, he was hoping. Oh goodness me, Alex really lit them up there, didn't he? But yeah, he was hoping to do well around the Charlotte Roval, but he just got unsettled in a few moments, so it didn't work out. But this is absolutely perfect. I've seen him do it. I've commentated on him in real life, in the Legends and all sorts of things, and he is hot, and he's proven it right now. Oh, and that's a big moment there. Who's that? 79. That's Jeff Hooper. Oh dear, and that's caused some damage there, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've had issues with Jason Glenn as well, with George Tolsma. Jason's on his left. Oh, George has lit it up of his own accord into Jason.
No.
Jason's in the wall, and then I think Jeff Hooper... Oh no, that was the lap before, actually. And then George Tolsma's had his own issue on track the lap after that. Is he just going to light up the rears around here? Or is he just going to run a bit too deep through this right-hander? No, the back's come around.
It looks tricky, doesn't it? Doesn't it look tricky?
Yeah,
wow.
It is. Really is. Some of the guys really struggling at the moment. Billy Fletcher's just gone past Jonathan Hill. He's making his recovery back up the order. I don't know whether he got a slowdown or whether he just sort of stopped a little bit to let the guys through that he'd made contact with. I know that Billy can be a good sportsman with these guys, so hopefully he did do that. Hopefully for his
I
sake, it
thought
wasn't
he had a
slowdown.
problem to start with. He was just sort of going steady in a straight line. So yeah, that would of course make sense for a slowdown, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We've got a comment in chat as well saying, I wonder if Ben Craner will take revenge for last season. Well, he's fourth at the moment. He's got quite a gap in front of him to the top three. He was starting to bolt away. But behind him, really, really good battle, as we were just looking at there, with Mikey Doble in the 22, newcomer this season, one of my favourite car numbers as well, 22, so I'm sort of distinctively, discreetly, I'll say, just cheering him on that little bit. But Guillaume Hesnaut, a real favourite in this championship, has been doing great this season. Bit of damage all over the car, same for Brian Crowles behind. These guys got caught out at the start. And to be honest, Mikey's holding them off well so far. It'll be interesting to see how long he can keep it up for, obviously, as the tyres go off over the course of the race.
I mean, it's interesting because I'm kind of, as much as sort of being the commentator here, I'm sort of like glued to seeing how these cars really are able to tackle this circuit because, you know, in something a bit more, small, nimble and nippy, heading down into that, what looked like the final chicane, the Jack X chicane before they come onto the start-finish line, you almost sort of felt that Hesnaut was going to throw it up the inside, but of course these are big beasts and it's not as simple as that, is it? So they've got to, it's like the fastest game of chess. He's looking up the inside now round the long right-hander. I think that must have been Lucien Bianchi that they've gone through there, or was it Canal? Probably Canal actually, because that's Lucien Bianchi, I think, which is Jules Bianchi's dad. And but he's still going, and look at that, chomping at the bit in the background is the recovering Brian Crowles in that patriotic liveried car with the eagle on the back. You know I'm obsessed with that eagle now, don't you?
It really is. And he's having a go at Mikey Doble now as well. Once Mikey's lost one place, it seems that it's unsettled his rhythm a bit. Brian very late on the brakes. This is his home circuit, of course. The Belgian driver tries it into the Villeneuve chicane. Oh, James Harvey gets into him, though. I think James just wanted to go about his own business there, and he just didn't expect Brian to slow down that much, and Mr. Crowles has to try and recover again for the second time in this race. He's only lap 4 now, Chris, and he's had 2 incidents. What a nightmare.
It is, and I mean, whilst that wasn't his doing, is that it also, to be fair, it wasn't Harvey's behind him, was he? As you say, as he kind of got there, that Crowles had tried to make the move. It compromised him, so suddenly he was almost sort of sat on the apex with Harvey, just had nowhere else to go. But I think we're riding on with Harvey now, aren't we? Look, he's made the lunge there, and then suddenly the slowing car, he's gone to try and stay to the left-hand side. Crowles gone to the left, ready to take his race in line, and that unsettled him massively. That is such a shame.
Yeah, it's easy to do, though, you know, in cars like this as well, where you just want to make that lunge and just try and make a little manoeuvre. It's so difficult to make a tiny adjustment and then come out of it, or change your line, or just go a little bit later on the brakes, because they really can punish you quite a lot. We've got Billy Fletcher, the 77 on the inside of him there is Justin Nyer. Billy Fletcher in the 88 trying to go around the outside. He's just got a bit of an overlap, nearly making contact. Justin goes slightly sideways, but Billy just doesn't get it done. Is he going to get the run onto the straight, though? It looks like he has. That's actually really, really nicely done. Yeah, the switcheroo, there it goes.
Which apparently is something that I say too much by the sound of it. But yeah, I mean, but it didn't quite work there initially, but he just stayed patient, flipped himself up the inside, and look at that. No sooner as he got it done, he's pulling away, and Nayer's already back into the clutches of the 111 car of Freienzenner, who, in fairness, I mean, actually, he's 11th. He started in 11th, and he is the 111 car, so he loves all the ones, doesn't he? But
all the way up. He's not 11th now.
Wow. That was Nayer just got a tank slapper on, I think, partway around that corner and left Freienzenner with nowhere to go.
Yeah, he really, really messed that one up. Jonathan Hill's just gone past him. Jonathan also told me about this livery, by the way, the Gravedigger livery, which I know that you're going to be a humongous fan of. He messaged me the other day just to say he's running a special livery at Zolder. It's his son's 2nd birthday on Thursday, and because of COVID, he won't get much of a birthday, so he's running his favourite Monster Jam truck livery. He says it's nothing major, only mentioning it, so if you wonder why the car looks totally different, that's why. And I absolutely love that. It's a great little gesture, that, isn't it?
It is, and I think has he just got past Garrington then? He has, yeah. I think, yeah. That looks fabulous. I mean, we had monster truck driver Tony Dixon of the Swamp Thing on my live show the other week, Coon TV, for Castle Coon TV, and we were talking about Gravedigger then as well, of course, and in fact, Swamp Thing used to be one of the Gravediggers, would you believe?
Ah,
so
I
there
did.
You go. If you see the Swamp Thing, you'll know that now.
I used to be quite the fan of Gravedigger when I was younger as well. I I did like a bit of my monster trucks, and to be honest, I'm really, really pleased that he's brought that livery out because it looks great. But Yarrington, he's not going to be pleased that Freinzane has brought that livery out because he's going to try and put some of the paint of it on the back of his car by the look of it. But it was Naya before that just lost the rear end, and as it flicked back the other way, unfortunately, the Swiss driver had nowhere to go, and he's now trying to stay with these guys in this battle. Aaron Smith has a 1.5 second lead at the moment over Alex Sedgwick. He's starting to run away now.
I think that's probably quite a lot to do with the fact that Sedgwick is sort of going defensive, isn't he, really, here? Because Connor Mills, my tip for this race, although he's not doing me any favours at the minute, I'm going to lose me wager if I put any money down, which I never do. But, you know, he's put that pressure on Alex in the early stages, which compromising, I think. The two of them dropping away from Aaron Smith. Bad news for Aaron is that Sedgwick at the moment has actually pulled away from Connor Mills, and so could start coming back at him again. And this is Freinzane now trying to go around the outside of the Gravedigger. I just want to call him the Gravedigger now. I don't want to call him anything else. But Jonathan Hill, we've got to keep remembering it's Jonathan Hill that's in there. And happy birthday to his nipper for tomorrow. And Freinzane tried. But look at that. Isn't it amazing? Darned if you do, darned if you don't. That move didn't come off, and it's cost him quite a big gap now already.
Yeah, 0.4 of a second opens up just like that. And it was even more going onto the straight as well. I think it was just the concertina effect of them going into the corner that really closed it. So it does show you that if you try and make a move around a circuit like this, it can go wrong. Gravedigger a little bit wide around there, though. And Freinzane, he's been one of those drivers, hasn't he? He's always been sort of in the top 5, just scoring consistent points after points. Just going to have a look at where he is in the championship. He's actually tied for 3rd with Jason Glenn and Guillaume Hesno, all on 118 points at the moment. So he's definitely a contender.
He's had a 4th, 6th and a 4th, hasn't he? So he's done well, Freinzane. Incidentally, by the way, just to also add, that moment we saw earlier, Race Control informing us that it's a drive-through penalty for Jazz Harvey.
Oh,
so
right.
James Harvey, the number 40 car, has got to come in. He could have taken more curb and committed causing contact and pushing driver around. I mean, marginally tough, that one, but I can understand it as well. I mean, it looked to me as though the car ahead of him, Crowles, was sort of stopped from his failed attempt to make a pass. So there goes Harvey. Now that explains it. The Student Motorsport car in for a penalty, and I know that JP is watching, and hello mate, and good to see that you're on board watching. But your driver's got a penalty through there. That, yeah, I mean, it's a tough one to swallow, that one, I think, isn't it? But I'm sure that Crowles will agree with that unreservedly, because of course he'd have just been sat in his car and suddenly tapped round.
Yeah, it's a very frustrating situation to be in when you're the not the tapped or the tappee is obviously
the tapper or the tappee.
I'm going to be pitching a tent at this rate. James is currently still going. Actually, he's just coming out of the pit lane now. There he is in the beautiful, I must say, Student Motorsport car. And they know I'm a fan of the livery. They know I'm a fan.
It's gone back, hasn't it? It's got the green back in it this time after last week. And yeah, tapper. I'm fancying tapas now. That's what you've started in me. Hey, there's no need for that.
I've had way too much food before this broadcast. We've got a car off there. That's George Tolsman.
I thought so. Yeah, and he's already been in the pits, I see. So he's struggling with that car, isn't he? Massively. Well done on staying out of the way there, look, because he has been in the pits. So he's right at the back, and he's been lapped by this car.
Again.
Wow.
Just it's because you're on the throttle around the corner. George obviously not prepared for the back end to step out as much as it has been doing. He's just taking it a little bit carefully over the curbs there. You can see just how much curb these guys can take with the soft suspension on these cars. The wheels almost stay on the ground. It pretty much is like Gravedigger, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, big wiggle there, shaking his tail feathers back at Freinzane, but not a problem there. It's totally different, that Yarrington car this time, though, isn't it? Because it was more yellow, I'm sure, whereas there's not a lot of yellow on that one this time. It's just a few flashes. So Hill is lost out a couple of places. We didn't really see where that happened, did we?
No, it looks like.
I'm just ahead of these two.
Just trying to see where that happened. George Salzman's had another issue just now, unfortunately.
He's going to wave the white flag and not the one that signifies last lap. Might be his, but that's not what he means.
It's the French military flag.
Here we go.
This is...
Oh, that's very deep into. I think that's the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, isn't it? And then into the long right-hander of Terreman Bocht, as the full name, which is Terreman Bend.
He's just. I
Didn't
think
know
that.
you were having a language lesson, did you?
No, I didn't. To be fair, I still don't know how to say it.
Well,
I
actually,
think,
he's already lost out earlier there to Nicky Y because Yarrington's passed and gone, and yet he was the other side of him. Isn't that with such massive damage behind?
I think that was. No, it wasn't
Glenn.
Tolson. Is it Jeff?
It's Glenn.
It is Jason
No, I think.
Glenn. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Glenn. We know he was involved in a few skirmishes in the early stages, but that's done some quite significant damage. Remind me again, will they feel the effects of that damage? They do,
Yes.
don't they? Because they go in if it's too bad and it suddenly pops back out again.
Yeah, it's not quite full length, that car at the moment. It'll be more like a Vauxhall Corsa than a Ford Mustang, but he's making it work, is Jason Glenn. Maybe it's not so long, he doesn't have to over-rotate, well, he doesn't have to sort of try and rotate 38 feet of NASCAR now. It's only about 32.
Yeah.
We've got a good battle going on behind as well. That's Justin Nyer. James Harvey making his way back up, down the inside, late on the brakes. Really, really big move. And then Justin gets the overlap. Now they're still side by side going through the left. Oh, James says, "You are not having that room, mate." And through he goes. Wow. That could have very easily been an incident there, but they got away with it.
And that was interesting because that was coming out of, like you say, the hairpin that they struggle with, the Boulderberg hairpin, easy for me to say, and then they go into Jochenrindt chicane, which generally speaking is a something of nothing. But suddenly once you put them side by side, that became much more of a challenge for the two of them, didn't it? It became more of a chicane all of a sudden.
Yeah, it certainly
It's just
did.
such a quick sort of like left-right kink, isn't it? That normally it just is something of nothing. It's not a true chicane, but it is there. Look at this. Fryenzen has gone really closed in. He's probably got a nosebleed being so far back from where he's been so far in this year. So he's closed right onto the back of Yarrington. Yarrington, who only joined us last week, didn't he? He wasn't here for the initial round at Kansas, I don't think.
No, he's a friend of Billy Fletcher's, as far as I know. He's in the Lux Sim livery as well for this round, and I believe the rest of the season. He's in a bit of a variation of it. Obviously, Billy's is the camouflage with the orange. Nicholas is with the yellow number, yellow wheels, but the white and sort of, it almost looks peach camo. I think it's just grey though. It might just be a bit of a pink tinge, but yeah, everything.
How did you manage to camp that up again?
I really don't know. It's just, I could go into that, but I think we'd be here for too long.
No.
It'd be lap 30 before we know it. Anyway, I'm sure Aaron Smith would like this to be lap 30, to be honest. We are on lap 11 now, but he's doing a stellar job. 2.2 seconds. There is the gap back to Alex Sedgwick. And then Connor Mills has really dropped off him. He's 3.9 seconds back now. So these guys are spread out.
Sorry, Chaz, apologies.
You're right.
And in fact, look, Cream is closing in on Mills now. And what I was about to say is that we've got the interesting thing here is that the tyre does degrade massively. We are going to see pit stops. I think they'll be sort of largely hoping for just the one. Last time it was around laps 15 to 18 that they came into the pits of this 30-lap race. Tyres will go before fuel, but I would imagine, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't note this from the first time they raced here, but they will still do both in that one pit stop, sort of like top it back up on the fuel.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's new tyres apparently, isn't it? And there's new wear on these tyres that they've gone into this a little bit unknown compared to last time.
Yeah, there's been a tyre model update to these cars since we were last here at Zolder. And where tyre wear is so important. I mean, we saw Ben Kriener come in last time. He was stuck in a bit of traffic. He got into the clear air, got new tyres on and was setting fastest lap after fastest lap. But by the end, because of how much his tyres had worn out, I think he'd done 20 laps on them by the time the last lap was around. And Alex had really, really caught him after a later pit stop on fresh rubber. And it was a great, great thing to watch because you could just see how much pace Alex had. But Ben had made the strategy work so well, and unfortunately an incident at the end of the race decided their fate. But it was this man that we're looking at now that took that race win, and he is currently closing in on Mikey Doble and Guillaume Hesno, who, again, Guillaume, another performance relative to his other ones where he's just there and he's just getting points. Of course, tied for third in the championship at the moment, but newcomer Mikey Doble, he's doing a pretty stellar job as well, to be fair, in that 22. He started 8th and he's up to 6th now, with Brian still just behind him.
Yeah, he is. It's. I mean, we're really starting to see the patterns emerge of these drivers because, of course, Guillaume was absolutely delighted with the victory, first race meet of this new season at Kansas Speedway. Not gone totally to plan for him, but not catastrophic. I mean, we suddenly saw him with a 5th and a 9th, which still means he's 3rd overall in the championship. But he's trying to scamper away whilst he knows that Doble's more sort of got his mirrors full of the patriotic US livery, even though he's at his own circuit, is Crowell's, but which isn't America, as you guessed. And he's closing in on Doble, so Doble's going to have his hands full, and already you can just see that car is just lining up, and he's trying to psych Doble out now, isn't he, at the moment? And it looked for a second as though he'd gone a bit deep into that chicane there, the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, but it didn't do enough to enable Crowells to make a move. But now we're going to be starting to make our way down towards this tight hairpin.
Oh, Gravedigger's turned into Sandcastle Maker at the moment, unfortunately. Off into the gravel he goes. We do have to have a little look back at something else in a moment as well that I've noticed. Let's just have a look at how he manages this. Does he just hit too much of the curb and does it bounce? That's a lot of curb, yep. As soon as he gets on the power, it just goes around. Luckily, not too much of a hit with the wall, but near the front, Ben Kriener has just overtaken Connor Mills for P3. I noticed that they'd gotten close together. Ben has really closed in over this last lap. Oh, Connor just lights up the rears on the exit, and there's not a lot he can do down the straight. Ben's got the better run. Down into turn one, Ben's going to really send it in hot on the brakes. Covers off the line, stops Connor getting the run through. And that
Can
was
I say
nice.
how intelligent that was, though, from Connor Mills? Because it would be all too easy to kind of go your default approach to go defensive and throw it on the inside. But he knew he'd lost enough momentum onto that straight that if he went to that slower inside but defensive line, he's a sitting duck. So he's best to keep it on the right-hand side of the circuit, keep Kriener on the inside tighter line so that he could actually recover on the exit of that corner. It didn't come off, but it was some intelligent racing. Talk about intelligent racing. Here goes Crowells round the outside of Doble. Is he going to get it done? He's coming into the chicane. Little tap there. He just kind of parked that on the apex, didn't he, to make sure that there was no way that Doble was going to come back at him.
It did indeed, and to be fair, he's probably sick of people hitting him through that chicane by now. He's thinking, can I not just go around and just not get a tap in the rear? Let me do it at my own pace. I just want to have a quick look back though, because I want you all to appreciate the absolute commitment on the exit of that chicane. Look, it all started there. Doble just hit that curve a little bit too hard, and it just gave him the run around the outside, did it, for Brian Crowells. Onto the brakes. Doble gives him a bit of a tap on the way through there. But just watch this corrective oversteer on the exit. Brian lights it up and off he goes. Look at it. Snap, wow. And it's done. Beautiful. We've got Connor Mills in the pits, by the way. He's realised I don't want to get in a battle with Ben Kriener. I just want to get my pit stop done and come back out.
He was slowing. He was going slow, wasn't he? Because Kriener catching him. So I wondered whether the tyres were going off. And this is early, isn't it, really? But not as much of an undercut. You know, he didn't go for the 10, but I think that he was feeling that the car was struggling. So I think these new tyres are going to really throw a curveball at him.
Yeah, definitely. I think Connor on fresh rubber is going to be really one to watch. I think you could be right in this because Aaron Smith and Alex Sedgwick, they're not really fighting at the front. So they're in their own clear air, but they may not realise it relative to each other when the tyres start to go away. Connor, you can see pushing it as hard as he can on the exit. Marcel Franzén has had a pit stop as well, but he's down in 14th place, quite a while off Connor, so we'll keep an eye on that and see where he ends up. Jason Glenn and Nick Yarrington are side by side. Nick's just had a really, really slow run through there, and Jason's come through, but they're going into the chicane now. Who's going to be brave? Yarrington goes in hot. He's on the inside line. That's a lock-up if I've ever seen one over the chicane. That's going to be a slowdown, Chris.
Oh, dear. I mean... it came back again to the darned if you do, darned if you don't side of things. As trying to now just interpret that at the moment. James Harvey, I tell you what, he's a man on the mission since his penalty, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really sending it.
Flying.
He's absolutely on it now. Maybe he took, although I'm not sure if he could have taken the penalty and done tyres, so he won't have done. Ben Kriener's come in, Guillaume Hesno has come in. So this is going to be interesting now to see where Kriener ends up compared to Connor Mills. Brian Crowells goes through, same with Mikey Doble. And we've got Franzén coming out of the pits again. I'm not sure whether he got a drive-through or something.
Okay. I mean, the interesting thing here is that Connor Mills, of course, decided, nah, I'm out, this isn't working, so I'm going to come into the pits. Well, Kriener, who had only just taken him, he's come in as well now, so that is going to be the interesting fight from the exit. Now, Connor Mills, if you remember, at Indianapolis, he had an absolute masterstroke of changing just to one side and getting out quicker, and that sort of really gave him the win. Well, you're not going to get the same thing here. It's going to be all four. But at the moment, you know what? I think Connor Mills, he's got him back again. But where does the pit lane come out? I'm just making sure that he's got him. So Connor Mills has done a sterling job on that outlap.
Yeah, he got the pace done when he needed it to. You'll just see Krina there just behind him. And Ben's thinking, oh, heck, I've got to do this all over again. The car switching around all over the place. I tell you what, on cold tyres, it must be really focusing. Ben is trying to get the power down as best he can. He's got a good gap over Guillaume Hesno. But your race leader, Aaron Smith, he's now coming in as well. Either that or he's missed his braking point, but it's probably the former. We'll keep an eye on Alex. He also comes in. So, where is the next car on track? It's Brian Crowell's. Just coming down there. Look at that, the back end hanging out. And that's the thing as well. It's not just the handling of these cars that starts to go away when the tyres go off. It's lighting up the rears as well and shredding them. They just get worse and worse over a run as well, so you can't get the power down, can you?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are bob on at half distance, so they're going to go 50% on the set of the tyres, whereas the guys that have come in, they've now got to make these set of tyres last that little bit longer. And not just that, Chaz, is that they are clearly going to be pushing like Billy-O in these outlaps to try to take advantage of it, which means they're scrubbing off the best life out of them from the get-go. I think this is going to, again, lead us to a phenomenal finish to this race. Definitely
will. Connor Mills is coming down the pit lane now. Alex Sedgwick is on his way out of the pit lane. Aaron Smith is out as well. He's already on his way out. There's Brian Crowell still in the pits. He's just swapped over with Connor Mills. Where is Alex Sedgwick? There he is. Sorry about the flicking around, everybody. I'm just trying to find out where everyone is. But yeah, someone that is pushing like Billy-O is Billy Fletcher at the moment in the race lead. But he, of course, has not pitted yet. He's got a 15-second gap over Aaron Smith, and that just shows you the pace of Aaron, because he spent 50 seconds in the pit lane doing his stop, and there's no way Billy's going to come back out in front. But you can see Connor Mills is really close back up now, and of course Ben Creaney you'll just see coming through shot. There he is. These four, they may be a bit spread out now, but that's not going to last, is it?
Well, it isn't, because Connor Mills, he's got 2 laps less, so 2 laps from the end. His tyres are going to be, off the cliff again. 1 lap from the end, Ben Creaney's is going to be off. So that's why you can see that Ben is trying desperately to get onto the back of Connor Mills as soon as possible, because he knows he's only got that 1 lap extra of life. And he knows that Connor will have absolutely hammered those tyres on the out lap as they come around the tight right-hander of Boulderberg into the, you see this now, the quick left-right. It isn't much of a chicane when you're on your own of Jock and Reek, but we saw it earlier that once you go side by side, it becomes more of a task. This one is a proper chicane. Jackie Hicks, which takes them onto the start-finish straight. And again, this is where we've seen numerous drivers lighten up those rears, which compromises them all the way down the straight, whereas those two that time, Chaz, they just applied the throttle nice and gently there, which kept them in a straight line, kept the momentum going, and all of a sudden, Ben Creaney, he's gone better through that corner there. Is he going to dive towards the inside? He is, Goodness me, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, that was first class, but Connor is saying, no, you're only having a second class stamp, mate. Don't you worry. But no, Ben's hung it round the outside and he's kept the place. That's amazing stuff from Ben Creaney. You could visually see the gap disappearing on the lap prior. And, well, it's properly gone now. Jason Glenn and Nick Yarrington, they're trying to take part in the Paris-Dakar instead of a race at Zolder. They're just all over the place. It says good, clean fun on the back of Jason Glenn's car. That certainly wasn't. We'll have another look at it.
Someone else hit that off the front already, so...
Oh, hang on, this isn't the right moment. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. So it's Jason that commits the foul as well, probably. He's come behind. Let's have a look at what he does. Gets alongside, does he? He just goes later on the brakes. Oh, he's just gone deep and Nick's gone with him, unfortunately. It happens, doesn't it? It happens. Oh, they're still fighting, actually. We'll stay with them because this isn't over yet. Fisticuffs. The gloves are out, or the gloves are off, I should say. Look at the car dancing of Jason Glenn. He's thought, right, I've had a bit of contact at the start. I've lost out. I'm just going to crack on and see if I can have some fun. And Nick Yarrington's saying, yeah, all right, then I'm game. And they're all over the curb. And, well, there you go. That just shows you how quick that can open up, because it's now a 0.6 of a second gap to Jason Glenn.
And yeah, I bet that Yarrington's, if he was possible, oh dear, Jonathan Hills had a moment there in the monster truck again.
Oh, we said it.
Oh,
The Chaz curse.
And that was before they even got to the chicane, bizarrely.
Yeah.
What's happened here?
Honestly, it's the Chaz curse. You say, oh, this has happened, this has happened. You look away from someone, oh, he's lost it down the hill, and it's gone properly down the hill.
That was unusual, that, wasn't it? He just went light on the front end there, and he just, once that started wagging, there's no way that you're going to collect that back again. That's round the sort of long left-hand curve that doesn't even have a name before they get into Gilles Villeneuve. I suppose the problem there is maybe he was sort of braking while still turning. That's the only thing I can assume he did there.
Yeah, maybe as well, because when it flattens out, a lot of the grip does just come to the front end. So maybe if he was off the throttle, it could have off the throttle, so it lift off oversteer effectively. But could have been anything in these things. You never know. He might have just turned the wheel and it just done whatever it wanted to. The gap for the front though is now 6 seconds from Billy Fletcher to Aaron Smith, which means that Aaron's actually gained 9 seconds on him in a handful of laps. Just shows you the pace of these new tyres. It's pretty incredible. James Harvey is also close to Nick Yarrington, who's putting on a drifting show for him. It's the 40 and the 42. Both a fan of having bright yellow numbers. Nick Yarrington doesn't want to be on the circuit by the look of it.
Has he been in to the pits yet, Yarrington?
He has, yeah. He has been before.
That
he came
looks
in
like
earlier.
dead tyres, doesn't it, that? I mean, he just is really loose. And into the pits has come Billy Fletcher now. Now, the interesting thing, he's waited until the lap 19. He's going to come on strong at the end,
Yeah, he'll have a lot of pace on these guys. Don't hit that thing, Billy. That wouldn't have gone down well. Flipping heck. You saw him sort of dart out of the way a little bit there, like, oh God, someone put a building in my way. This is Ben Kriener in third. Now, Ben's been on fire so far, but he's got 5 seconds ahead of him to Sedgwick, and then nearly 9 seconds in total is Aaron Smith. Oh, that's George Tolsma again. George is having a real torrid time tonight. Not a fan of this circuit by the look of it. I'm sure he won't be any more of a fan by the end of the night. Connor Mills, though, he's also closed up on Ben Kriener now, and Connor is starting to put the fight to him as they mount these curbs. And I mean, we thought Connor would fade away a little bit with that 2-lap difference on tyres, didn't we? But it's definitely not the case.
No. Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, it's trying to interpret what everybody's doing here, isn't it? I mean, I was just looking at the screen trying to work out the bits and pieces, and it's tricky to understand exactly what everybody's doing here. And if they've changed tyres, they're onto fresh rubber, there should be no issue. They should be back up to speed again, but they're all doing slightly different things as it stands. Kriener, we knew he was going to hunt down Connor Mills as quickly as possible. He's done it because Mills clearly took some life out of the tyres when he first came out of the pits. It looks to me like he hasn't got an answer now, has he?
No, he's not faded away as much as I thought he would do, though, once Ben got past him, because Ben was so much quicker than him on the lap before he actually made the move. But yeah, he's not really opened the gap up. Someone else has not opened the gap up at the moment. It's Guillaume Hesno over Brian Crowles, who's just got a really good run out of the chicane. George Tolsma on the right there getting out of the way, and Brian is almost pushing his way past Guillaume Hesno down the straight. It's the Belgian against the Frenchman. Brian on the brakes early into turn 1. Decides not to go for it. He doesn't want to compromise his line, does he? He wants to do it in a place where it doesn't lose him too much time. Hesno really not having a good time of defending this. Runs wide out of turn 1. Brian wants the cutback. You can see it. You can see him lining it up. He's on the throttle a little bit earlier. Doesn't get his nose alongside. Decides to back out of it. Plays it safe. But this is real clever driving at the moment by Brian Crowles, isn't it?
It is, and when you consider the torrid opening he had to this race, he's just clearly calmed himself down, let the whole thing just disappear. And he's just been picking his way at these people. He's had his moments there. He's going to look towards the inside, not able to do it, but he now needs to make sure he can. You see, that's that darned if you do, darned if you don't, because he wasn't able to pick up the throttle as earlier as Hesno ahead of him. Hesno was all in control of that chicane, doing what he wanted to do, and so he was able to pick up the speed an awful lot quicker, and Crowles was just left there, not really able to do a lot, was he?
No, and now it's a 1.2 second gap. I mean, it opens up very quickly. You can see the gaps between all the drivers in the bottom right of your screen. It does say it's the battle for third, but we all know that it's not. Hesno now nearly 1.4 seconds clear, and it's just amazing how quickly that can open up round here, especially in chicanes as well. We all know that chicanes can be a right pain in the backside for us if we want to make a move and it doesn't work. Kriener has opened up his gap now to Connor Mills. It's almost a second and a half as they go across the line. 9 laps to go after this one, but Aaron Smith and Alex Sedgwick again, Chris, for the second week running, they've just been the class of the field in terms of keeping it neat and tidy, and we may see Aaron finally get that win.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a fair comment. Is he's kind of deserved it, hasn't he? That he's been there or thereabouts pretty much every time, and it just at least once I can remember where he was robbed with the caution, and he's just keeping his powder dry round here. Cedric's far enough back from him that he doesn't even need to worry about him. He's just the biggest villain that he's going to have this time is the devil on his shoulder that's going to make him lose concentration if he's not careful, because if you're sat there just circulating round, you become too metronomic and you then just miss that breaking point. You pick up the throttle too early is the big one we've seen on this circuit, light up the rears, get a tank slapper on, and you're suddenly spitting your nose towards the barriers.
Yeah, that's it. It's a little bit of over-exuberance, as I like to say, and yeah, like you say, you're in the barrier and that is game over. We have Brian now just gradually. Brian is crowling up to the back of Guillaume Hesno. Yeah, not everybody. It's a great chase this though, isn't it? These two, there's like a magnet on the back of Hesno's car that once Brian just goes away, just gradually creeps back up again, doesn't he?
Incidentally, by the way, I've just noticed that we've lost Marcel Freinzenner, sadly, the 111 car that was involved in some great fights, and he's out now. That's a shame.
Not sure whether that was to do with how long he was in the pits before. I know that he had an issue and he was in the pits twice, so maybe an incident. I'll have a quick look, scan back through and see what we can do while we're on board with the wonderful Brian Crowles, who has a massive fan club on YouTube, it seems. Every time that we come online.
You included, I think, mate, isn't it? Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Brian's a top guy. He's a really good laugh. Very funny bloke. And he's so into all the good sort of banter and the atmosphere that this series has. He's so much fun. And, I mean, even in the driver briefings as well. We all have a little bit of fun in driver briefings. And, yeah, Brian's always there to ricochet any comments I make. Hesno out of shape there. And I tell you what, never mind ricocheting the banter. Brian's going to try and ricochet himself past Hesno here.
He is. That Mustang is prowling, isn't it? There's no question about it. They bounce off those, but I think they both did there. Brian Crowles, of course, normally when I see him, he's a mechanic for Brax Racing, and he's normally at the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series event, so he'll have been at Brands Hatch the times I want. But with spanners in his hands, this time he's got the steering wheel in his hands again on this series, and he's just doing cracking throughout, and he really is looking to go higher. 6th place, battling for 5th, bearing in mind, I'm pretty sure he was... If he wasn't at the back after the moments in the opening lap, he was pretty close to it.
I think he was on the outer fringes of the top 10, wasn't he? It was Jason Glenn that really dropped down, and Billy Fletcher. But yeah, Brian did lose a handful of places for it. Ivan Bowmans is trying to give him a pep talk from in the YouTube chat. He's saying, "Focus, Brian. You are a fluffy cloud. You are speed." And Brian certainly is sped at the moment. He's really on it.
Fluffy cloud. That's like something you would say to camp it up there.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. He's a massive American flag with a bald eagle at the side at the moment, so it's not subtle as a cloud, really, is he? But he's going to be looking for anything that he can try and focus on now to get past Guillaume Hesno. And it's just these little moments like that where he hangs back on the way into a corner. Let Guillaume go in a little bit hot. Let him make the move. Let him sort of defend when he doesn't really need to, because you're going to pull out of the move. It's all the mind games, and it's what we love in motorsport. You can't tell I'm excited, though, can you?
And we're about to get down towards the chicane. The Klein chicane is the first of these two. Are we going to see the lunge by Crowles? Oh, he's looking, but I'm not sure he's going to do it just yet. He just gets himself back towards the racing line to take him through this. Oh, big bounce and a big cut there by... the car ahead of him of Hesno. Hesno knows that would compromise him. That's got to have been a slowdown, surely, because he cut that too much, and he wants to make sure he doesn't get the penalty. And through goes Crowles. He just pressurised him into that one, and very sensibly, because he didn't make the move. I'm sort of looking there with the stars on the front of his car, and his compadre telling him he's a cloud. Makes me think of the phrase, aim for the clouds, that's as high as you'll get. Aim for the stars, and you'll go way past them. And it's kind of almost making me feel poignant and teary-eyed at that.
It's getting all emotional here, everybody.
It was deep, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's, if anyone can put cloud emojis in the YouTube chat, that'd be fantastic. This is Billy Fletcher chasing after Mikey Doble, and Mikey's new to the championship this season, and he's thinking, God, you boys just don't give up, do you? Billy's all over the back of him. He's already gone in the back of somebody else at the start of the race. Mikey runs deep just because he's too scared of him, and he's off on the gravel. There's surely going to be contact. There is! Billy just... That's the way to sum it up. Oi, oi, oi. Gets away with it. What a move from Billy Fletcher. He did actually just scare Mikey into that. Whether he was a bit late with the lunge, I don't know, but either way, it wasn't contact that took him off, so Billy makes it through up into 7th place, and again, it's got to be those fresh tyres, hasn't it, that's given him the speed here.
100%, and like I said, is don't forget, we've only got 6 laps left to go, and he's going to be on fresher rubbers all the way to the end by what was it, a good sort of half a dozen laps fresher, even at the end. So he needs to just really hammer home. He's probably disappointed that Krause and Hesno aren't fighting it out so much, because of course that would have slowed the two of them down. He's got quite a big old gap before he gets them, about 8 seconds before he closes in on them, but he's not having to go defensive. But how interesting there, Chaz, that we just saw 2 moves that confirms these drivers sure as heck do pay attention to their rear view mirrors, because 2 drivers got harangued into making a mistake.
It's easy to do. It's easy to drive in your mirrors, especially in sim racing as well, when you get so much vision in said mirror as well. You can have them on quite a high field of view, so you can see a lot of what's going on around you, and even sometimes to the side slightly. But this is a guy that's not going to be worrying about that at the moment. Aaron Smith, really, really flying at the moment. We've got quite a few Disney Pixar Cars references going in the YouTube chat at the moment, which I'm a massive fan of. Let's open that up. But yeah, Smith, well, speaking of opening up, Smith is opening up the gap at the moment. He's 9.6 seconds ahead of Alex Sedgwick, and to be honest, we've not really seen, we saw Aaron very quick at Eldora when we did the Truck Challenge a few weeks ago, but we've not seen a performance like this in the Vertex Stock Car Cup from him yet. This is inspiring.
Well, he was in around the ovals, wasn't he? He was looking good, and he just got slightly compromised by those. He was looking monstrous there, but this is a whole different gravy for him this time, and he's looking good. Look at that. He's just tiptoeing his way through that now. I think he's just making sure. Looking at his lap times, well, I was about to say he's taking it steady, because he's knocked it down a couple of seconds a lap to his own best, but in fairness, he's knocked it down less than everybody else even now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of these drivers, we've seen it in a lot of motorsport disciplines in the past, where they'll be leading the race and someone will say, oh, just tone it back a bit, and they will do, but they're still setting the fastest laps of the race, and It's just amazing. They have this talent to just take it to another level, and even when they dial it back, they're still rapid. Look at him, hanging the back end out around the chicane and everything. It's unbelievable pace.
I've got to say, the biggest one is our prediction that we said was going to happen. Billy Fletcher is the only car that's lapping in the 136s now. He's sat there in 7th. He's got that gap down to Guillaume Hesno, down to 6 seconds now already. So Billy Fletcher on that fresher rubber, he is absolutely flying. Oh, Connor Mills in the pits.
Yeah, not sure what's happened to Connor here, whether he's thinking have a dash on some fresh tyres, whether it's worth that much though, I'm not sure. But as you were saying then, the gap from Fletcher to Hesno, you can literally see it coming down on the timing screen every single 10th of a second, just when he gets on the power out the corner. It just disappears, because he can get the traction down that little bit better. He is really flying up to the back of him. It's now 5.6, and I want to keep an eye on Connor here, see what happens.
Well, he's pitting. It's not a drive-through, is it? He is actually pitting.
Taking
Up
tyres.
He goes. He's taking new rubbers. Pup or bust is the cleaned-up version of what I'm going to say there. And it is both sides. Look at that.
Straight out, no fuel with that either. There was definitely no fuel.
Jeff Hooper was the car that was behind him still in the pits. He's come in and he's not coming back out again, sadly.
Yeah, there he is.
Wow, that's intriguing move. Now, I think you can understand the call, but I'm not convinced it's going to work, down to 9th place as it stands at the moment. And he's a long old way back, isn't he? He's 8 seconds before he even gets to the back of Jason Glenn.
That's if he does get to the back of Jason Glenn. The way he's hanging it out around there, it's absolutely all over the place. But
and there's the other point, is it takes about a lap for these tyres to get up to temperature from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
So suddenly he's lost another lap there. We're on to lap 27 for our leader. So he's definitely not going to get the lead, because that means our leader's just recently crossed the line by my reckoning.
Yeah, Aaron's just gone into turn 2 now. Ivan's asking if we can turn on the pit crew animation. In iRacing, mate, you can only see your own pit crew. You can't actually see others yet. I can imagine the rendering power required to do so would be an absolute nightmare. Every time you came past the pit straight, you'd probably get 10 frames per second. But yeah, unfortunately, you can't see other people's pit crews in this case. Obviously, anyone that doesn't know, iRacing does have animated pit stops for NASCARs and Indy cars as well, where the crew actually, they run around the car, take the tyres off, fuel it up. It's amazing. It looks brilliant, but you can only see your own. You can't see other people's. Ben Crean is still on a bit of a mission at the moment, Chris. He's just a few tenths quicker than these guys now. He's as quick as Aaron Smith, but he's taking a couple of tenths each lap out of Alex Sedgwick, but it's not going to be enough to the end, is it?
No, I don't think so. The same as Billy Fletcher's time just sort of dropped down to the 38s now. So, he's got that down to 4 seconds before he gets to Guillaume Hesno. But Hesno's fallen dramatically away from Brian Krause now. I mean, Ben Crean, he's got to be chuffed. He sat there in a podium place. That's gained him 7 places from where he started on the grid. I mean, you still can't grumble with that, can you, if you were the driver?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And we'll show the gains and losses on the left-hand side for you, everybody. You can see just how much of a difference it has made to some of these guys. And down the inside of... Oh, actually, I was just thinking there. Has he gone down with a cutback on that? Yeah, because Creaner... Well, he came in a lap earlier than Mills, but we'll have a look at Mills here, because he's trying to undercut these boys as well. He's trying to do what Chris would call the old switcheroo, but it's just... I didn't see why that worked.
No, I mean, he's just, well, we can't tell yet because, of course, he's done his outlap, so we need to see when he crosses the line what sort of speed difference. But I can only assume, rather than it being a tactical ploy, Chaz, is that he's sat in there going, this thing is handling like a dog.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember when he only came in 2 laps before the halfway point, didn't he? So... again, remember, we're on these new tyres that we didn't know what to expect, and I don't think it's gone according to plan for him. He's a bit vicious now, isn't he? He means business. What has he done where he's crossed the line there? He's lapping in the 140s, That has not gone to plan at all.
I think he that was from when he pitted, though, wasn't it? So he would have lost a bit of time after he crossed the line. So I think the next one round is going to be the first indication. But it's like 28 out of 30, guys. It's just not going to be enough. And Aaron Smith, I mean, he's dropped off a little bit now. He's actually 2 tenths slower. Alex Sedgwick put the fastest lap in out of those top guys in that last lap, fastest lap of everybody, other than Jason Glenn, actually, 1:38.5. So he's... Oh, no, it was a 38.52 that Alex did, and the 38.53 that Jason Glenn did. So Aaron Smith now goes on to lap 29 out of 30. One more lap to go after this. And to be honest... I wasn't expecting it to be a walk in the park for any of these guys, and no. Aaron and Alex have certainly made it look that way, and Ben Creaner as well, obviously 7 places gained. Everyone else has either gained or lost sort of 1 or 2. Jason Glenn and Connor Mills have lost 4 each.
Aaron Smith, after all the jiggery-pokery and shenanigans that went on at the end of the Zolder race in Series 1, did actually come home in 2nd place. And he's determined to go that 1 step higher and properly on the road as well, isn't he? And so far, you've got to say he's the master of this circuit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen that Alex is good on...
second margin is mental, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, especially over someone like Alex who, yeah, despite the fact that he is the boss, essentially, and, he's organising the series, but he's really shown a lot of these guys how it's done until now. And... to do that over Alex is an amazing achievement, and I know that Alex will be happy with 2nd place, of course. It's good championship points, but as we saw a few weeks ago, he doesn't like losing. Doesn't like losing one bit.
I've got to confirm again, Connor Mills, I'm sure, that, and assuming that he's still recording it correctly on the timing screen, that he's just done a 1:46 again last time compared to his best lap time of 1:35. So something's wrong with that car,
Yeah, I think it's the timing screen, I think there's an issue with the timing because Jason Glenn, he was 5 seconds behind him before, and now he's 2.3. There must be something going on with the timing screen there. Have to try and figure out what that is. But our race leader, then Aaron Smith, comes on to the final lap. And it's been an amazing performance by him so far. And he's only got 1 more lap to go. Alex Sedgwick, obviously, we can't say anything bad about his performance either. He's got Ben Creaner 4 seconds back, who's also been absolutely on it. Bear in mind that Ben had an issue earlier. And Connor Mills is off.
Ooh. Yeah, something's not right with that car, or either that, or he's just frustrated with himself. Because we saw him just losing time after starting so strongly. Round the left, right. Oh,
the weight transfer.
But that was such an early light up as well, wasn't it, really? I'm surprised at that one. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the car's something's gone awry with it, but yeah, I mean,
have a word afterwards.
Remember with Aaron Smith is that you initially were questioning why he changed from all yellow, and he said he's going to be quicker now. Is that the wasp has got a sting in its tail and all that. Well, he's certainly lived up to it, hasn't he? This time he's out making sure that nobody's going to rob him of it, as we've seen in a couple of the other races through no fault of his own. This time he's just made sure, like, for example, surely he's not going to actually try and get past the lap car ahead of him.
Nah, he'll just take it easy now, although Nick Yarrington will want him to lap him just so he doesn't have to do an extra lap. Into the final chicane then, onto the brakes, and as is tradition, I want plenty of clap emojis in that chat, everybody. Round 4 of the championship goes to Aaron Smith, the American driver for Revolution Satellite Racing, takes the checkered flag. Amazing performance, a 15.4 second gap at the moment over Alex Cedric, and that's only getting bigger as Alex comes to the line. Actually, it's 15.7. Alex lighting it up out of the final corner. Great showmanship as always from Alex. Second place for him, more good championship points, and Ben Kriener gets the podium. Great drive from Ben, to be fair, that, and what a recovery from Brian Crowles, eh, Chris?
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, such a good, ahead of him, Kriener was a good tactical race. Brian Crowles was just a good, strong race, recovering from the moments in the early stages that could have had the red mist there, and he just picked his way nicely through it.
Yeah, it was a case of just damage limitation. Guillaume Hesno, 5th, a good performance from him. Billy Fletcher recovered well into 6th position.
Yeah, he was only just over 2 seconds behind Hesno at the end there, so he was reeling him in, wasn't he, on the fresher rubber?
Yeah, it worked well for him. Jason Glenn crosses the line for 8th, just behind, actually 13 seconds behind Mikey Doble. That was Jonathan Hill. Unfortunately, not a great outing for Gravedigger there, a bit of a rough ride. Connor Mills out of the race.
Out.
Yeah, Connor Mills properly out of the race there. There's Justin Naya, who finished in 12th. But what an amazing race we had there. Really amazing one. And here is James Harvey. Him and Nick Yarrington are going to be the last cars across the line. James still gets a top 10 though. It may have been a smaller grid, but still plenty of points. At the end of the day, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and James was here to scoop up the points. It may not have been his best performance, but either way, top 10, isn't it? You've got to be happy with it.
Absolutely. You get bringing out the deep comments as well now. It's contagious, isn't it?
There's Nick Yarrington.
I mean, the damage down the side of that car was quite significant, wasn't it? But again, he's got himself in 10th position. At the moment, it's showing Connor Mills as 11th. I don't know whether it stays there if he's out or not. But Naya 12th and Jonathan Hill and Gravedigger in 13th. I mean, not the close spectacle that you had in the first series, but in its own way, it was fantastic. It was such a game of chess, wasn't it?
It really was. We'll have a quick look at Aaron doing some burnouts and donuts. Absolutely lighting it up. He's going to be over the moon with that, and rightly so, because he was untouchable. Really, really untouchable. And, I mean, he has been since Eldora. It's like it just woke him up going to Eldora in those trucks, and it wasn't even in this car either, so it's not like he can say, oh yeah, I just found something in the car that I unlocked, and it was on dirt in a completely different machine. So yeah, something's come alive for him. Hopefully he doesn't get disqualified for driving the wrong way too much. He parked it right in front of the flag man. Is he going to light it up again, or is he just going to disappear?
Well, I mean, and what a points haul it will be for him, because he's got the victory. By my reckoning, looking at the screen, he's got the fastest lap. He's led the most laps as well. I mean, he's just had a fantastic points haul this time, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's
so
really,
considering
really
he came
close.
into this leading the championship if we take the pros out, and second to Alex if we left him in. So, it's going to been a great move for him this time.
Really has, and there is your official result as well. Aaron Smith, and not Alan, might be his dad. Aaron Smith wins the race 16.4 seconds in the end. So Alex Cedric, obviously a bit of showboat in there from Alex at the end. Ben Kriener finishing third, good recovery from him. Same with Brian Crowles. Guillaume Hesno, consistent as always. Billy Fletcher, 6th place with Mikey Doble just behind in 7th. Jason Glenn, as someone has said in the chat as well, Ivan Bauman said it, Jason did well after 3 crashes as well, so great performance from him to get it all back up there within a minute of the leaders. James Harvey 9th, Nicholas Yarrington rounds out the top 10. Then it's Justin Naya, Connor Mills and Jonathan Hill 1 lap down, so Justin Naya did get promoted actually once he crossed the line. George Tolsma finished in 14th place, 6 laps down. He had a bit of a tough time. Same with Jeff Hooper as well. And Marcel Freinzehner, unfortunately, we lost him quite early on in that one, but a brilliant race nonetheless. And we will get the guys in just a moment for a couple of interviews. We'll get the green flag section up just so we can get some beautiful footage for you guys in the background. Or at least I hope we will. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we'll see who is around for an interview. What we'll do is I'll just move us, Chris. 1 second, mate. There we go. We'll just move us up just so we can grab these boys for an interview. And I tell you what, there's nobody else really that we should speak to yet other than the man himself, Aaron Smith. Aaron, that was an incredible performance, mate. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, it's about time I finally brought home that win. It's been a while.
It certainly has. And what was your secret around there? I mean, not even Alex could stay with you. You were just in another league.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, to be honest with you. I was just putting around the track. Just doing the same thing I did last season. I guess it worked out for me.
It certainly did, mate. It was amazing. And Chris was saying, of course, the change of the livery. It's now a wasp with a sting in its tail, and you weren't lying at all, were you? It's really come on this season, and now that obviously, even including Alex as well, who was just ahead of you in the championship before this, you've pretty much got max points out of this evening, haven't you? It's good for your championship, this one.
Oh, definitely. I don't know if I got the fastest lap, but it felt like I got pretty close.
You
So
did.
we'll see. Oh, I did? Alrighty, that's good to hear. So yeah, guess it is max.
Well, it doesn't get much
Unofficially,
better.
I'm not the official, obviously, am I? But 135.3, that means that from our reckoning, looking at the screen, you have. So if the timer screen's right, and of course the lead in most laps. I mean, the biggest challenge Aaron and I was seeing at the end there was how you were able to just keep your concentration, because you kind of had nothing to do, such was the gap, which is challenging in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Just keeping that gap, staying ahead of Alex, making sure I don't make any mistakes, because I had my brake bias dialed way back, trying not to lock up those rear tires into the corners. It was certainly a large trial, but we made it.
So you were struggling were worried about the locking up under braking. A lot of others seem to have an issue where they were lighting it up when they got on the power on the exit of the corners. Does that mean you didn't really have that issue at any point then?
Oh no, like I said, I was being really light on the throttle on entry, or on exit rather, and tried to save those tires as much as. Good call. It certainly worked. Did you feel any different with the tyres? Because we were talking about it being a new set of tyres out there. You know, pitting around the halfway point. Was that fine, or could you have done with maybe having some fresher tyres? Well, I'm not sure what they did with them, but they were much slower, as y'all noticed. But after I pit, I noticed my rear tires were only about 88, 89, and my front tires were still about 5% off perfect. Yeah, they certainly changed some stuff with that, but the wear wasn't nearly as hard as it was before.
Well, that's against what we thought then, Chaz. We got that wrong.
Yeah, we thought that they'd gone off an absolute cliff, but that's interesting to hear that, and of course that'll translate well in terms of any other sort of road courses that we go to over the course of the championship and in the future of the series as well, because the more info you can get from rounds like this, even if you don't have a good performance, it can be very vital to how you approach other rounds, can't it?
Oh, definitely.
Well, it was an amazing performance, Aaron. We're very, very pleased for you, finally getting that win on a road course. Just before we let you go to enjoy the moment, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to, mate?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone at Revolution Satellite Racing for helping me out in the last couple of weeks, and Alex and everyone at Vertex for putting these races on, and y'all for broadcasting.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Good to speak to you, mate, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Alrighty, thank you.
Very, very deserving winner there, Chris, and like we've been saying, I mean, we've praised him a lot all night, but it's deserved, isn't it? It's just amazing.
It is, and yet again we heard it, the humility and bordering on surprise that is lovely. You can't help but just love the guy, can you? And you know, sort of doff your cap to a great victory that he's just been threatening time and time again.
Yeah, certainly has indeed. The next driver we'll bring in is someone you're very familiar with, Ben Kriener, who eventually finished third in that race. Ben, starting 10th on the grid, were you expecting that one, mate?
It was just a bit rubbish from me, mate. I don't really know what to say. I just, some days you have it, some days you don't, and that was just not one of them days for me. I don't make life easy for myself doing that, but yeah, I don't really know what to tell you other than it was just a bit rubbish for me, really.
Well, it certainly looked like the opposite during the race, though. I mean, gaining 7 places, you were the biggest mover in the field by 5 places, so you certainly made it work throughout that. Was it just a case of tyre management, or did you just absolutely go for it all the way through?
That was a race of tyre management. That was exactly what that was. So early on in the stint, I noticed I was losing small amounts of time each lap to the 3 in front. But as the run went on, I started equaling Alex and then pulling Connor towards me. Aaron was just a different league today. No one could touch him. He did a phenomenal job. He was just unbeatable. But I noticed it on the long runs, and we saw it again before the end of the race when I was catching Alex. It was all about tyre management in that one, and obviously Aaron did the best job out of everyone. But obviously I did a better job than those around me because I was able to get Connor in the pit stop phase before he made a wee mistake. And I was catching Alex, but I just ran out of time really, and tyres myself. Mine just went off right at the end, and took a few more laps, and Brian would have caught me. So obviously he did a really good job with his tyres as well.
Well, it seemed like me and Chris thought that the tyre wear seemed quite exaggerated compared to last time. I mean, the lap times were all over the shop, but we heard from Aaron that they weren't as bad in terms of the wear this time. Do you agree?
I don't know. I mean, in terms of the drop-off, I would say that compared to last season, it's not as bad, and the difference on how much your tyres can go off the cliff. But for me, obviously, last time out, I was obviously focusing on strategy, and I wasn't really focusing on tyres that much. This time out in Zolder, I was fully tyres, So I think that, the tyres don't wear off as badly. They're just not as switched on to begin with, in all honesty, so...
Yeah, it's Aaron was saying they were quite a bit slower in terms of overall performance, but... It was great to see you make that comeback, though. I mean, the pace that you had was brilliant, and a podium's always good for the championship, isn't it?
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun carving my way through. I mean, I had a really, really good start to the race, half of my grid position in one lap. I just got fortunate in being in the right place at the right time. But yeah, that was, whilst not a very eventful race, it was an enjoyable race. Just getting on with the car, managing yourself in the race. It probably wasn't that exciting for everyone at home to watch, but for a driver anyway, that's a really enjoyable race when you can just get into a nice rhythm and get on with it. So it was just a bit different from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's always a good race round here because of just how... It's just not a track you'd expect to see these things at, is it? And it makes it all more interesting, I suppose.
I was going to say,
absolutely.
Ben, what was your feeling when you came out of the pits and Connor had leapfrogged you again and you had to do it all over again?
I wasn't the slightest bit surprised, I don't know if last season when I managed to undercut the leaders by like 15 seconds, the undercut in these cars is ridiculously strong, so that's why I reacted a lap later, because had I left any longer, he would have, I would have come out of the pits and he'd have been 10, if not more seconds down the road, so... But that was when we saw the likes of, Billy. He lost it a lot because he went really long in his tyres. He came out quite a way further behind. So I was, it was frustrating because I had, managed to pull that pass off, and I was like, okay, I got to do this again. But someone else to do in the race. It just made it more challenging. But I wasn't really surprised to see that at all.
And we loved that. We were loving it.
Yeah, we were. It
so
was
great. So was I.
It was good fun, and it's always great to watch a drive where somebody comes back through the field. Just before we let you go, though, mate, final words on next week. We go to Daytona International Speedway, and then we go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for a double header again. What do you reckon to those two circuits and these?
I mean, Daytona is going to be a very fun one. You can always count on having a good show at Daytona. Canada, I don't really know how these cars are going to go. I mean, I know they actually used to race there, so that would indicate that they're obviously going to go all right around there. But, I'm looking forward to it. A new track, new challenge, and, it's just fun racing here. So, I'm just looking forward to it, really.
Smashing. Well, very well done, though, Ben. It was a good performance this evening. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before you go, mate?
Just the usual, mate. Some 24 in for the summer that I've got. It's one of the best things that you can buy at the minute. Especially if you're just getting into it, and obviously you guys as well yourself. Without you guys, we wouldn't get the show that we've got, and it's really great to see the series, growing in numbers as well. In the drivers' briefing, actually, Alex told us the viewing figures from last week, and it was really impressive just to hear how much they are growing. So great stuff from you boys, and just keep at it. It's really enjoyable, and I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you very much, Ben. Well, good to speak to you again, mate. Well done on your result, and we'll see you next time round.
Cheers, guys. See you later, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
And we've got time to just squeeze one more in, I reckon. And someone that had a bit of an eventful race that time round was the number 88 Lux Sim 24 esports car of Billy Fletcher. Billy, welcome to the booth, mate. How are you doing after that one?
Very hot, very tired.
I can imagine so. You definitely had to put the work in there, didn't you?
Yeah, to be honest with you, one of the main reasons coming in was a bit of public apology for that first call, because that was diabolical on my part.
Well, it's good on you for apologising, mate, at the end of the day. A lot of drivers don't, and it's nice to see. It was good, though, because, everybody managed to make some sort of recovery from it. I mean, Jason had a couple of other incidents coming back through the pack, but you yourself, obviously, you ran very late on the tyres and then had some great pace at the end. I mean, you almost got Guillaume with those final few laps, didn't you?
Yeah, to be honest, you kind of got that line, and I crossed it too many times on trying to catch him, so I kind of killed the tyres. I think not the last lap, the lap before I came out of the last chicane, went to go, and I've been going every other lap, and it just kicked out sideways on me, and that was when I kind of knew it was game over, and I pushed the tyres just a bit too.
Yeah, it's easy to do in these things, isn't it? I mean, they don't handle as well as other things on the service. They've got a lot more power than most things as well, and it's a bit of a combination for being on the edge quite a lot when you're in a chase, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a mind over matter thing. You've got to kind of keep telling yourself, don't overdrive it, don't brake too late, don't get on the throttle too early, don't start being impatient in thinking, I can make up a tenth or two there. If you are faster than the car in front, you will catch them. You've just got to kind of keep telling yourself not to overdrive it. But it's a good challenge. I mean, I do and I don't enjoy driving the cars. They're absolute ball ache sometimes to drive. They are very hard work, but it is rewarding when you get it right. And I must admit, after the dreadful start to that race, it was good fun to come back through the field. And I was a bit gutted when I see Jason lose it in front of me on the first lap again, because I did think to myself, that's kind of my fault. You're in that situation.
Yeah, it's not a nice situation to be in at the end of the day from both parts, because you obviously feel the guilt of it. We've just seen slow-mo of Jeff Hooper as well, just losing it in front of you. It's a track that's very hard to get used to in these cars, isn't it, with all the oscillation. There's little bumps here and there that can catch you out even in the most planted of machines, but these cars were certainly lively around there. How was it trying to manage the tyres? Because we know that there's been an update to them, and apparently that they don't fall off a cliff as much, but they are a bit slower overall. Did you find that it was hard to manage them, or did you find that it was quite easy?
No, they felt about the same to manage, but the bits I found was a little bit different from the previous time model. Was over the crest with it. So before, you could kind of, when the tyres were good, you could keep slanting over the hills, so as you come out of the tight chicanes. And that sort of over the top left for the second to last corner. And tonight you couldn't, even when the tyres were new, you had to just breathe off the throttle as you went over the hills, kind of thing. And while I was following people, you could see that a few people haven't quite got their heads around that aspect of the tyre. I think 3 cars lost it in front of me just as they popped over the crest, near enough driving in a straight line, and it still tries to spit into the wall.
Yeah, it did look like it caught a lot of guys out, but you stuck with it, managed to get a good recovery out of that one. Next week we go to Daytona and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for another one of the championships. What we loved last week was a double-header. You confident going to either of those?
I'm confident about Daytona. Last season I got a bit of redemption there after one of my fuel calculators played up during that race and short-fueled me while I was running at the front. I enjoyed Daytona, so I'm looking forward to that. Gilles Villeneuve's a bit of a bogey track. I tend to struggle a little bit on fast flowing tracks. They don't suit me very well, so even though it's all chicanes, you generally got to carry a lot of corner speed through other than the last one. So we'll see how it goes. I'll put the practice in and fingers crossed it goes okay.
I will apologise to you now and anyone else that I've spoken to, actually, because I know that Chris has probably noticed this in the background and he's thinking, what is Chaz on about? Because I know this is round 4, because we had a double header last week. It's actually down as round 3 on the website, because obviously it's the 3rd race meeting. We're actually at Iowa next week, so don't go practicing at Daytona yet, mate. We are actually at Iowa next week. Sorry, everybody. Iowa, what do you reckon to that one?
Iowa's, it's 1.5 mile speedway, isn't it? Or is it a short course?
I think Iowa's a sort of... Which one is it, Chris? I think it's just over a mile, I think, isn't it? No, it's 3/4, I think.
3/4. I'm due to get on alright with the shorter oval, so yeah, I'll be quite happy if it's somewhere like that. The other thing as well is it doesn't always take as much practice as the road courses of these guys. Once you kind of get a rhythm and you know where you need to put the car to save the tyres, to get the best rotation out of it, you can leave it and not sort of mess with your head too much in regard to worrying about paint.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it works out for you then, mate, because it's going to be an interesting one to watch, that's for sure. Just before
before that, a second. Sorry, Billy. It's Chris Dawes here. I just wanted to ask you, mate. How did the tyres feel? You really pushed that first stint to try something totally different, which nearly worked at the end there. But how were the tyres in those sort of like latter stages before you pitted?
Before that pit stop, so I was going to push it to the end of lap 19. To run on to lap 20 to give me 10 laps to push, but then I dropped into the 140s. To be honest, the rear tyres don't feel too bad, it's the fronts. It just turns into a boat. Through the fast corners, you just find yourself cranking more and more lock on, and it does become slow because you're just scrubbing corner speed off everywhere. Other than that, they're not that bad. It's just the pace. When I see Aaron took 4 seconds out in one lap, I had to give up in the pits.
Which is interesting because that's what answers it for me, is that literally you had a target but you suddenly went, nope, I can't, I've got to go in now. And that's great for us to sort of get an understanding of how that would have felt for you and the battle of the tactics, really.
Yeah, I mean, I knew everyone had pitted. I had a call from my spot to say to me Aaron had pitted in the lead, so I gathered Alex would follow him in. So I thought to myself, I'm going to push it to lap 19, come in the lap 19 for lap 20, give me 10 laps to try and catch up. And I did feel like lap 18 out of the way, lap 17 out of the way, and I seen the gap come down from 15 seconds to 6 seconds between me and Aaron in the space of 2 laps. So I kind of realised that was the point I needed to bail out trying to make that. Otherwise, I'm going to lose too much time to the guys that I need to try and catch back up again through losing the time of stretching the tyres out.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, very good to speak to you again, mate. It was another exciting round for us to watch, and we wish you the best of luck next week at Iowa.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your commentary and broadcast.
Thank you, buddy. Cheers.
Yeah.
Well, another brilliant race meeting behind us, Chris. What can we say about that? Another exciting race, of course. Plenty of action again, but Aaron Smith was just away with the fairies, wasn't he? He just drove off in a trance.
Amazing. I mean, as I said earlier, is that fine, it wasn't the sort of like neck and neck sort of humdinger that you had in the first series, but I've always said as a commentator in the real world as well, is that it's not always just about that. There's always something going on in a race, and the best fun you can have is looking for the stories, and there were stories throughout this entire field. The fact that Aaron was just in a league of his own. We enjoyed in the early stages a great fight between Alex Sedgwick and Connor Mills, but then what happened to Connor Mills? We don't know the answer to that. Ben Kriener fighting his way, gaining 7 places to get himself on the podium, that he had to do that twice after his pit stop. Brian Krause having to fight his way back through this as well. Guillaume Hesno sort of sat there with it all happening ahead and behind him, but making sure he came home in a good finish. And Billy Fletcher that we just heard then, in a totally different tactics to everybody else, and it kind of worked. Not what he hoped for, but 6th and closing was still good. I mean, there were stories everywhere. It was brilliant.
It really, really was, and it shows as well that you don't need a massive field of cars to have an exciting race. You can have 16 cars on track and still have a really enjoyable time for everybody watching, and that's exactly what we got. Thank you everybody for watching though. This has been the Vertex Stock Car Cup Season 2, Round 4 from Circuit Zolder. Like I've said, next week we are at Iowa, not Daytona and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Please do join us there in a week's time, same time next week, 7:45 British Summer Time. I've been Chaz Draycott, alongside me the fantastic Chris Dawes, as always, and we'll see you in a week's time. Have a good night.
Lift your head up to the sky. Take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines, but always know that you'll be safe. I'll be here throughout your days. Come find me and we will play.